Agritourism has helped Taylor Moyer start his agricultural operation. He has made available opportunities for people to do things other than just hunting on his operation.
The whole thing came about because we were already doing photography. Like we let one friend come take photos here, and then photographers running a pretty tight network is what we've learned. So then we were having people we didn't quite know wanting to come here. Couldn't get as comfortable as I wanted to be with it by finding land trust platform and then mitigating all that risk. Between that and the scheduling and not having to like build out your own website and deal with payments and all that stuff, it's made it so simple.
We're going to talk to him about all that and more today on an episode of the Working Cows podcast, brought to you by C90 Ocean Minerals and the South Dakota Grassland Coalition.
Welcome to the podcast that gives producers a platform to discuss and share paradigm-challenging practices. Practices that have increased the effectiveness of their operation and the joy that their families have received from this lifestyle.
Howdy, everybody. It's Clay Connery, host of the Working Cows podcast, recorded exclusively in the Understanding Ag studios. Very excited to be joined today by Taylor Moyer. Good to welcome him back to the podcast. Had a conversation with him a long time ago about being a NASCAR crew chief and what he learned about managing teams of people in that endeavor. Well, since then, he has gone out and full-time started to run his ranch farm operation. And one of the things that's helping him succeed in that is the ability to attract people who want to make use of his land for things like photo backgrounds for senior pictures and things like that. So we're going to talk to him about how he's using land trust for that purpose today on the Working Cows podcast. I'll share that conversation with you right after a word from our sponsor today, C90 Ocean Minerals. C90 brings the power of sea energy agriculture to your farm or ranch. Using the principles discovered by Dr. Maynard Murray, C90 harnesses the power of the ocean to remineralize your soil, increase pasture nutrient density, and raise healthier livestock. C90 is perfect for all livestock and can help you unlock the genetic potential of your herd. Available nationwide at Tractor Supply, plus give their team a call to learn more about their new spore-based soil biological input and help take your soil fertility to the next level. Visit c-90.com or call 717-580-1458 today. C90, a wave of nutrition. Taylor, thanks for joining me again on the Working Cows podcast. Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Clay.
You know, I think the title of your episode scared some people away, but that was one of my favorite episodes, to be honest with you. Just to look at a totally different industry and see that kind of some of the keys to succeeding in that are very similar to the keys to succeeding in ranching. And so I think that's one that I wish got more love than it does, but I do think that was a fun one to get a peek behind the curtain into that industry for sure.
Yeah, I can see that completely. There's just so many parallels, and I think being in a different industry will give you a matter of perspective if you come back to farming and ranching, which that would be the life update. Since that episode, I've come back, and there's plenty of other podcasts where we talk about all that, but I'm back on my farm, my wife and I's farm full time, and we're giving it the good college try.
Yeah. And kind of update me a little bit on the context there, and everybody else where you're at. North Carolina, is that right?
Yeah, I'm in I'm about an hour east of Charlotte, North Carolina. So I've listened to a podcast or two, right? 46 inches of annual rainfall. Our competitive advantage is if done right, we can graze year round. Another advantage that I'm learning more about is we're still not that far from feed yards if you head west from here, right? So a lot of our calves out of North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina, you jump right on Interstate 40 and, be in feed yard country. So that's where a lot of our calves go, as well as you can go up and down the East Coast pretty simply. And then the third big factor that can't be ignored is we have a lot of major populous centers within 4 hours. So there's a lot of people to market to if you choose to take advantage of that.
And also you're dealing with at least some portion of this land being generational. Am I remembering that right?
No, that's incorrect. I am a generational farmer. Family farms on both sides of my family, dairy, row crop. I was born and raised on a beef cattle and apple orchard farm, as funny as that sounds, in Vermont. And then my wife is a row cropper's kid from Illinois. But I bought this place myself in 2018, back when I was racing. And yeah, so none of this is generational land. We have now, as of last year, we've doubled our land mass, which is neat. We were starting to pick up traction on lease land around here, which I think is one of those things that takes time. You kind of have to prove to people that you do a good job and take care of stuff. So we're excited about that. And then the challenges we face is, as you pick up land, it's can be difficult in this market to scale the cattle business responsibly, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Owned cattle over the last few years have been a hard one to buy. They've been fun to own, but not necessarily easy to purchase in every scenario, right?
I need to dig through my notes. I'm sure I have it written down somewhere, but like about halfway through that racing season in 2023, when I decided I was going to be done, season gets over in November. I think I started doing calculations about June. And I know it's written somewhere, like what market prices were in June versus even when I got done in November, because I remember being like, oh boy, we need a lot more capital if we're going to go buy. And even then, I don't know if that's the best use of capital. So we can get into all that and how we've done it. But yeah, the market conditions have changed. And it took a little bit of creativity on my part to, let's say I'm a little risk adverse and I'm pretty frugal. Convince myself to spend money in certain places, and it took some steps along the way, knowing my numbers and working with some teams of people to, all right, prove to myself this can be done, and we can do it. And we've got a year and a half under our belt and a good set of numbers, and we're doing it. So we'll just keep paddling that boat, I guess.
So one of the things you mentioned there was kind of earning the trust of the lessee, the people that you're leasing from. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Are there people that were kind of willing to lease to you, but they were going to watch and see how you did with other pieces before they were ready to make that jump?
Yeah, maybe. I know I have been in this community that I'm in since 2011, I believe. I moved to the middle of nowhere, which is where I'm comfortable as a person, and I got pretty invested in my community. And then for years, I was gone traveling every weekend. So, and then you quit a kind of fancy job, or a job where you have a lot of eyes on you, and people can't really understand why in the heck you would do that. And then you say you're going to go farm, and people say, well, you can't do that. There's no way. So I think people just wanted to make sure I wasn't completely crazy and kooky. But we have a pretty good social media presence. We're very transparent about how we farm and what we do, and we bring people on. And I think that's just started to catch on with some neighbors. The undeniable part about living an hour from a major city like Charlotte, and a growing city, is that there's more and more houses every day. So there's more and more people that don't necessarily understand animal agriculture or get their information from Netflix and Amazon. So I use that to my advantage to shine a good light on agriculture here. I mean, we're generally tall grass grazers. Yes, we fight some mud, but we try to mitigate and manage that. So I just try to be very transparent with folks about how we farm, and then I'm starting to see people at least give me the option to bid on leases. I couldn't afford one, but I had some people that they have 70 acres of row crop ground. They want cows there. I couldn't compete with the row cropping rent. But it was also early on in the process, and I wasn't really sure with what I could pencil. I know that number a lot better now, and it's honestly, I know you and I will talk about this, but I'm really starting to push hard for the local cattlemen and the local row croppers to work together.
That is the ideal we're all shooting for, right? I mean, at least on the cattle side, and maybe not everybody, but certainly people in the orbit of this podcast, I hope. I've certainly talked about it. I've been beating that drum since the beginning. It's one of the few things that I haven't totally had my paradigm shifted on yet. I'm just thinking there's got to be a way to make this work and get that livestock integration going on so many of these crop acres, and it's good for everybody. And so creating that win-win-win is what we're looking to do. So, so talk to me a little bit more about the leases. What is the neighborhood like? Are they smaller acreages, larger acreages? Are there dwellings on a lot of these acreages that you're going to have to, work around and keep it nice for them? Or are they hunting properties that people are coming to? What does that look like?
Sure. Yeah. So just for perspective, I know most people know this, but like one of the advantages in the East is, in general, even the county average of how many cows you can run per acre. And then we push that by improving our grazing. So when I say some of these acreages, people are like, oh, those are small. Well, if it's a 70-acre property and you can really honestly run, you could run 70 cows there and feed hay for 120 days if you wanted. You could run 35 cows there and feed no hay and graze stockpile. That's about the size I've been seeing. The bigger, flatter, less tree acreages are not. They're getting row cropped. We are a large row cropping county. We are also a large poultry producing county, and a lot of those go hand in hand because they have to put that fertility somewhere. But then I'm starting to find, and I didn't invent this. This is I stole everything that I say. I've stolen. I stole the sharing economy from you, and I've just taken it and run. But I've definitely been the guy that's introduced custom grazing to my little county. So I custom graze, but now I'm finding these small acreages where people don't really want to give up like a whole year's lease on a pasture. For instance, I have a neighbor down the road who has horses. She has 17 acres. That sounds very small. She has to pay somebody to bush hog those acres for a lot of the year to keep, fescue just grows like crazy. And she's got some good orchard grass. I basically said, hey, how about rather than you bush hog it, when you've got that crazy grass just burst in the spring and you're worried about your horses, why don't you let me bring some cows in? We'll graze it on a per head per day basis. I will pay you money. I will, one, help you with your fences a little bit, but pay you money for every day I can have X amount of head per there. And I actually proposed that to somebody else, and it took about a month of talking for them to wrap their mind around the fact. I was like, I don't care to tell you how to grow grass. If you would like to use all chemical fertilizers and replant your perennial grass seed every year, I'm all for it if that's how you want to manage, But what's cool is they finally understood that the more grass they could grow and the more days I could have cows there, the more money they could make, and they were in complete control. And I think when I put that in their mind of like, you're not giving up any rights to me. We do everything on paper, and I don't do leases without it signed, just to get everything out in front. But those type of leases, which I call a short-term lease for myself, they work really good for some of the enterprises I run here. Some of those enterprises that are very fluid with whether we have cows in those enterprises or not. And I think it's one of those mutually beneficial relationships. I'm solving a problem for them, and I'm also going to put money in their pocket.
Let's take a quick break and hear a word from our sponsor today, the South Dakota Grassland Coalition. If you're in the business of managing livestock, you've probably experienced drought, shortage of time, not enough help, and hefty debt. But facing one or even all of these challenges doesn't have to leave you worrying about how you'll make it through another year. Learn how to increase stocking rates, extend your grazing season, increase plant diversity, retain moisture in your soil, spend less time and money on weed control, and much more at one of South Dakota Grassland Coalition's grazing schools. During this intensive 3-day program, area producers, along with presenters from state and local agencies, combined hands-on activities in the field with classroom-style presentations to walk you through the steps necessary to create a grazing plan that suits your unique operation. Reserve your spot at one of the 3 grazing schools today at sdgrass.org. So what have been some of the other pieces to success in this transition? I mean, transitioning, as you said, away from the racing job, how have you kind of made all of the cash flow things work, and some of those things would have been kind of the makeup of your of your time?
Yeah, I would say failing fast, failing forward, and a rising market to allow me to learn and not lose my shorts. If I'm being 100% honest, I've made some bad decisions or novice decisions, and I've been saved by a strong market to not, to at least have enough capital to make another turn. So just quick overview of what we do. We have most people around here are fall cow calving herds, and we have a spring cow calving, primarily a spring cow calving herd. Um, I kind of stole this from a great guy in Missouri, Garth Gadsden. We talk on X. I really liked what he was doing with his herd, and I'm like, there's no reason that doesn't work here. Just nobody's doing it. So that allows me, if I so choose, to buy open fall cows and try to breed them from the spring. I can buy them at a discount, as well as anything that does not breed in my spring herd on a short window, I can then carry and sell I can carry that cow through the summer, which is the cheapest time for me to carry a cow when we're grazing, and then sell it as a open fall cow. And they're usually very black and shiny at that point, right? When the fall cow sales hit, I have this product that people want. So it lets me upsell my culls and buy cows cheap. That's one way, but that is a slower moving cog in the wheel for cash flow for us. We also custom graze yearlings for the direct consumer market, which has been neat, and that's really helped us to have a paycheck every single month. We do that year round for a direct consumer meat business that's down in Charlotte. They've got it figured out. They sell in the big fancy Charlotte farmers market. That is like they're really good at selling protein. They do chickens, hogs, cows. So their business outgrew their land base for cattle. They needed more beef. We figured out a way that they could own calves here. I could graze them to a point, and then they take them home and they finish feed them out. Interestingly enough, on the cash flow side of things, for last summer, we actually custom grazed some poultry for them. I had some high school help here, and we needed more work, and they needed to expand the poultry business to kind of water down their overheads. And we did that. We're not doing it again this year, but it was really neat. I got the fertility. We made a little money on rent, and I was able to keep my help. He was able to make more money through the summer. Oh man, let's see what else. Oh, we have a service. I guess you could call it a service, and this one's very fluid. We call it backgrounding. There's a lot. Our average herd size around here is less than 50 head. A lot of people's marketing strategy is catch them when you can catch them and take them to the sale barn unweaned, unvaxxed. A lot of those folks have a W-2 job, or cows aren't their first, priority. So it can be difficult to have a Tuesday off to get them to the sale barn Tuesday night or Wednesday morning. So the service we provide is we come to you with a truck and trailer. We'll help you sort. We will, let's say, gather all the calves. We'll bring them to my house, weigh them on my scales with you there. We just pull the sale barn report. I pay you right off that. So I'm not asking for a discount. They don't have to pay commission. If there's cows in there that I don't want, I will haul them to the sale barn for them. But it allows me to, then the second piece of that is our local sale barn has a premium tag program, MACVAC program. So then I can wean, castrate, vaccinate, and I can, when the market allows, I can put some added value on those cows, and I can turn those around in 45 days. So that's kind of what I was talking about on some of those short-term leases. If I can get those calves straightened out and throw them on some grass, it's easier to keep them healthy in grass than it is on the pens. That's a very fluid thing. I could do more of it when I have grass. I can do less of it when I don't, or if I had cheap hay. So that is most of what we do. And then the last part would be the agritourism, which goes right along with it, which is we do that through landtrust.com. And we don't do any hunting and fishing. We do farm tours. But then our main driver would be we're like an outdoor photography venue where, again, Charlotte's an hour away. There's 1 million people. There is always people looking to have their family photos, bridal portraits, whatever, their picture taken in pretty places. And we do have a very pretty farm. We got creeks, oak trees, tall grass. Hot tip on that, photographers love weeds because they call it texture. So my weeds come at a premium, boy. We make sure if we do bush hog, we leave some in the corners for the photographers.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that backgrounding piece is interesting. It's like you're a short-term sell-by marketer.
So I do everything on a sell-by basis, including I took we took Wally's school. I've read everything Doug's ever put out on Beef Magazine, and that is once I understood that, which is no different than what I do with old Ford pickup trucks. It it just changed the way I think. So even on cows, when we were buying cows in, I truly believe I make all my profit on the buy and I just sell to cash flow.
Mm.
To the point now where it's funny because where my conventional mindset used to be, like, oh man, we didn't get the breed up we wanted. Well, I don't get too sad about it anymore because we don't proper cattle up, and those open cows immediately give me something to sell that I can turn right back around and spend the money on something that's going to make me money. So I like that because I like a high turnover operation. I am too much of a busybody to wait for one cow herd to calve every year. I don't know what I would do with myself. So everything we do is sell by. And I think what's a little tough is we do switch classes a lot because we have seasonality here, for sure. And we have a local market here that certainly has some trends that I'm starting to learn. That's a little bit of speculation and not as much sell by, but it's always in the back of my mind. Sometimes it might be like, the value gain's not as strong as I'd like it to be. But the little bit of speculation is when people start mowing their lawns, everybody that has cows in the grass, wants to buy more for their grass. So yeah, there's a pad and a paper sitting right here that's got a lot of cattle squares on it.
Talk to me a little bit more. Okay, so you mentioned old Ford pickup trucks, and I'm a Ford guy myself, and appreciate that. And so, do those ever make appearances in senior portraits or wedding photos or any of that? Is that an add-on charge?
We've offered that actually. It's funny you say that. In some of our photos, I'm pretty sure that one of the photos is my family sitting in the back. I have a 75 Highboy. We're definitely sat in the back of that. My wife has a 77 F100 Ranger XLT Custom. We've taken wedding photos in that, but I've never had somebody else request. But if they wanted to, that would be just a slight upcharge for a prop, I guess.
Yeah, my son just bought his first pickup. He's 14 years old, doesn't have a driver's license yet, but he's got his pickup sitting there in the driveway. It's an 81 Ford F-150 with the inline six, the 300 in it. And so, yeah, that's pretty fun.
That's a great pickup to start with. I was a 91 with a 302, but yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing about the 81 with the inline six and the 4-speed is you're not going to get pulled over in that thing because it will not break the speed limit.
That's very true. The motor probably will never die though.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right after we bought it, I went down a rabbit hole of YouTube videos, and there is this shop YouTube channel, and man, they took that thing from a generator motor all the way through like supercharged, and it was insane. And then they put it in like a early 70s 1-ton dually pickup, and yeah, that was pretty cool.
I think I know exactly the video you're talking about.
I'm sure you do. Okay, so land trust. Talk to me about that, the difference that it's made in your business, and kind of the just the way that you guys have been deploying it a little bit more, the flexibility that it offers, and some of those things.
Yeah, so we just dipped our toe in originally, and I'll have the discussion as a landowner or rancher that uses land trust. I hunt and fish. That's what I do for fun. So it's not something I offer here. So we started with these, and the whole thing came about because we were already doing photography. Like we let one friend come take photos here, and then photographers run in a pretty tight network is what we've learned. So then we were having people we didn't quite know wanting to come here. Couldn't get as comfortable as I wanted to be with it. My mom has kind of always taught me the liability side of things. So by finding land trust platform and then mitigating all that risk through that platform, between that and the scheduling and not having to build out your own website and deal with payments and all that stuff, it's made it so simple. We have done everything from having photography shoots where we were involved to I've done multiple where I was not here at all on property. We were on vacation or other places. So that one's kind of a no-brainer. And it's funny because now that I work for the company and I see, honestly, some of the income people bring in with turkey hunting and deer hunting and stuff, I really look at myself honestly and through a conservation lens, and something that I'm certainly guilty of on my properties are not shooting enough does. I shoot 1 or 2 big bucks. That's all my wife and I can eat in a year. And I should be shooting more does. So my mind's starting to switch to like, well, I really like introducing kids and first time hunters to hunting. I could definitely do a land trust listing, in a ground blind, which is pretty safe. Do a land trust listing for like first time hunters or apprentice type hunts. And I could solve my conservation problem of not shooting enough does and make some money along the way. So that's kind of the way my mind's drifting now. As well as on one of my lease properties, the landowners are open to me doing land trust listings on their property. We might have to revisit the contract, and maybe we'll just put a revenue share between us. So anything Ridgeview Land and Cattle makes on the land trust side, we'll share whatever the percentage is with them. But that one could be a truly hands off one. If I didn't have cattle in that field, I wouldn't. I would allow people to hunt does or turkey hunt easily. It wouldn't affect me at all. I would never know they were there.
Yeah, and I think that is kind of an interesting piece, right? The sharing economy coming to agriculture, and we've seen the way that it disrupts a lot of industries, from the hotel industry to taxi industry, all of those being disrupted by the sharing economy. And Nick DeCastro and the guys at Land Trust are doing their part to bring that to agriculture through hunting and agritourism. So what are some of the things that are maybe surprised you in this journey and with regard to those things?
Some of the things, I can't say I'm super surprised because I'm definitely like an early adopter. So when Airbnb came out, I was the first one when we were racing all across the country to stay in random people's homes. So, I thought the land trust model, as a hunter myself, I thought the land trust model was awesome because I honestly I like to do it myself. I just want access to land. I think some of the things that have been really cool as somebody who really cares about agriculture is some of the earning potential that some of these farms and ranches have, where they're able to bring a kid home from college or give the agritourism enterprise to somebody on the ranch as their own thing is really neat. I've been very touched by some of the more remote ranches where the connection that we end up helping facilitate between a guest and a rancher that ends up as like a lifelong, or we're only 6 years in, but a 6-year friendship has been really neat. We have one touching story where we have an older gentleman who was a duck hunter in the day, and he offers duck hunting now. And his wife says when there's duck hunters in camp, he lives in that camp to tell them the old stories from 40 years ago, So it's been touching to see like the connection between people. And I think that's where I think a lot of ag has got to go back to. Land, I could almost confidently say land about in every state has surpassed its utility value for just agriculture production of one enterprise, maybe like one type. And people certainly value land. Part of the reason that has happened is because there's been a lot of, non-agrarian people buying land because they understand the value of it, right? There's only so much of it. So finding ways to share that land with each other in some type of mutually beneficial relationship, whether that be landowner and guest, or whether that be two types of agriculture enterprises where one person owns the land and one person has this enterprise that could complement what they do and share. You can honestly share for some of the responsibilities on that land, or you can share whatever you want, but there's only so much land. So I think we can in a healthy way be more productive on that land. And I say healthy in a lot of ways. It can be healthy for the soil. It can be healthy for your community. It could be more healthy for the bank accounts.
What are some of the keys in your experience and in kind of having a window into the back door at Land Trust? What are some of the keys to doing agritourism well?
The biggest thing is, especially this is the land trust model, but you are sharing an experience with somebody. That's bare bones. That's what it is. You are granting somebody access to an experience. So if you can look at it, once you understand that what you do, if you're in agriculture, we're a very small portion of the U.S. populace, is unique, and you can key into what makes your place special and help, number one, help us market that for you to understand what is so special and why people should book your land. But anything you can do to help facilitate that experience, I see people really soar. That could be as much as just really good photography to start with. We all peruse Airbnb, VRBO listings with our eyes. The houses with the good photography we stop and look at more than the ones with bad photography, with good listing descriptions. As we move into a world of AI and SEO, and not that SEO has been around for a while, but AI. So like if you have good descriptions, and we help you with that, for what makes your land special, somebody might be Googling, a certain term that's in your listing description, and you will rise straight to the top as far as your listing in the Google search, in the AI searches being what pops to the top, which is huge.
Yeah, for sure. And authentic pictures too, right? Gary Mueller,
Absolutely.
the comedian, has a great line about taking his dad to Denny's, and as they were walking out, he said to the host at Denny's, "My compliments to the photographer."
Yeah, no, we've learned that and had some experiences. We even try to make sure for different packages within a listing, which are the things you can book, to make sure, for instance, if we are listing we don't want to misrepresent anything. So make sure the photos are around the same time period as when the people are going to be experiencing something.
Yeah.
We've had an upload.
Spring green up pictures for a fall, buck hunt, probably going to be a little bit of a conflicting message. Is that going to?
Yeah. Now, if it's spring green up pictures and it's deer and velvet, so we know like you're trying to show what the potential is, that's one thing. But the example I always give is if it's this beautiful tall grass prairie for an upland hunt, and then people show up and it's a section of black dirt because of tillage, that's not greatly represented.
Yeah, so I'd like to continue kind of on that line a little bit more. And are there ways to get started, or good kind of ways to test the market in your area and say, what do people want? Like you said, in your area, it's a photography backdrop. But it also kind of depends on what you want to do with the land, of course. But are there? I mean, I could see somebody saying, "Yeah, we're going to do agritourism. We're going to spend $30,000 on a bunkhouse, and we're going to, do all this stuff." Where maybe there's a better way to get started. Is kind of what I'm asking.
100%. We tell everybody, dip your toe in, give us a shot. Right? There's no contract you're going to sign that says after the first time you try this, you can't cancel. And it's also, we're a purely revenue sharing model, so we don't make money till you make money. So you're not going to be out anything. If you do it once, you're like, it's not for me. I really like to tell people to look around what you're not using. So maybe you've got some swale. Maybe you have a wood block next to your row cropping field. There's a lot of things. Turkey seems to be the gateway drug. There's a lot of farmers and ranchers I know that they might have the time and they might enjoy the fall deer hunt or elk hunt or whatever, but turkey season for them is calving. It's busy. Those pesky birds are in their haystack. And oh, by the way, people will pay you a pretty good amount of money to hunt those. And I think I say the gateway drug because once you have your first listing and you meet the people that come through our platform, a lot of times it changes people's minds. Like, oh, these are good people. They care about what we're doing and I want more of them here. I definitely like the model of using all the nooks, crannies, and crevices of your farm that your production agriculture is not using. I just wrote a blog. Anybody that's got pivots, I've heard that pivot corners can be pesky, right? You don't want it to grow weeds. I did a little test here. I didn't open it to the public, but I grew sunflowers last year. People will pay a lot of money to take pictures of your sunflowers, and people will pay even more money for dove hunting. So if you had every pivot corner, if you had like a 50-pound sack of sunflower seeds, is not that expensive, and a little millet, throw that in your corners, raise a good enough crop that it smothers out your weeds, make your wife happy, bring her a bouquet every time you come in the door, let people take photos, and then rent those corners out for $500 a day for dove season. I mean, I only had a 2.5 acre plot. I am in the South where people love to shoot doves, and I had a guy begging me for $1,000 for opening day. Now I was saving it for me and my buddies, but you bet your butt I wasn't like, man, I wouldn't mind having that $1,000. So that's what we've all got little sections of our farms that we have to pay taxes on that. And it's, not everybody has a firewood business out of their wood block, but you could let somebody go in there and deer hunt, turkey hunt, squirrel hunt. We have, this one got big. This got big last summer and we never thought of it. What might be a nuisance on your farm? People probably will pay to hunt. Do you have hogs? How about prairie dogs? Because that was the one last year. We have all these guys that are super into long range shooting that were calling us looking for ranches where they could go snipe prairie dogs. And then we're calling our ranchers like, hey, do you have a problem? Do you have prairie dogs? I'm like, yeah. How about $500 for this group of guys to come out and shoot them? Like, come on with it. So I like using the model to fill in the nooks and crannies of your production ag operation and also helping you solve a problem. So, could be, varmint hunting, hog hunting. We have I'm going to pronounce this wrong. We have a pecan grove in Oklahoma that the guy markets crow hunts because I didn't realize crows were his number one crop damage, whatever. And he was having duck hunters already come ask to shoot crows in the afternoons for something to do. So he markets crow hunts and turkey hunts in his pecan groves. And then he's got a nice little farm store that he upsells them on a couple packs of burger and some pecans as they go out the door.
Yeah. And I mean, so many other connected pieces to that, right? Like you said, there's opportunity to market some ground beef, and hey, there's pattied burgers in the fridge, or whatever. We'll bring them to you if you're bringing your RV or whatever, and here they are, $10 for, 4 of them or whatever it is, I mean, just, so many connected pieces that go on and I can see the opportunity where you meet the guy and then he's like, oh, well, you got all these hogs out here. What are you doing with them? Me and my buddies will come next season and take a couple of those back home with us. And that relationship grows. And I know lots of people that have been doing this kind of a business for a long time. And, like you said earlier, a lot of them do become lifelong friends and people that come every year and, don't know them outside of hunting. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we, you mentioned something too that we have a prime example of, and I can name the farm. You talked about the $30,000 cabin, and that's not needed by any means. We tell everybody the easiest upsell to add on your listing is allow people to just dry camp for the night. If you have some listing where people want to be there for multiple days and they don't have to go book a hotel and drive after their experience, let them dry camp. And we have one listing in Missouri, Graham Farm. They've got these amazing farm ponds all over the place. And Matt Graham and his sons, they love aquaculture and they love growing fish so they can fish. Let's put it that way. They love healthy ponds and they share that with people. And the fishing is great. Well, it got to the point where with camping, he was like, man, I want to make this so people will bring their wives and their daughters, I shouldn't say it that way. Bring everybody and everybody can enjoy. So they did just build a cabin, but they did that after multiple years of being successful. And they have beef there and they do the same thing. There is beef. There's a grill on the front porch and there's beef in the fridge if you so choose. So it can certainly be this thing that evolves and you can take it wherever you want it. And we don't expect, nor do we maybe recommend for you to go put a bunch of overheads into this. This is one of those things that can just share. It can help share the overheads your business, your agriculture business already has, and then let it go from there.
That's your ranching for profit talking, right?
Yep. Cha-ching.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have my button queued up, but no, when you find out the demand is there and the opportunity is there, then if it makes sense, and if you're going to be true blue ranching for profit, it can pay for itself in the first year or whatever, then by all means, go for it. And maybe that's a sheep wagon, I mean, the people pay a lot of money to sleep in a sheep wagon.
You're not wrong.
So, yeah, for sure. Are there other things that, like unexpected ways that this has been deployed that you guys, like you mentioned, the crow hunting was a kind of a surprise to the team there. Are there other ways that it's been deployed that were unexpected? I think originally, just the photography and the farm tours maybe was unexpected when Land Trust was first getting off the ground. But
Yeah,
are
absolutely.
things since then?
Since the company was started in Montana, it was started on elk, right? Elk
Right.
and mule deer and antelope, and those are the easy sells. I wasn't at the company before, but I know they had some early success with like a sleigh ride for a ranch. They had a team of horses and they did some sleigh rides, and it crushed it for those people. I know some listeners, fellow ranching for profiteers, Roger and Betsy Inderland. They do. I think they have the most successful farm tour on our platform. I just saw a booking the other day, and I think it's a really good way for them to bring people in and show them their registered Angus operation. Also get a beautiful tour of a ranch out west. But yeah, we call that whole sector farm and ranch experiences, and we're starting to get some fun stuff. We have a botanical garden in Georgia. We have a petting zoo, you know, people can come and experience, just them and their party can experience all these people's animals for the day. We have our first wedding venue. Um, Same thing, I always have to say this, we're not a sign-up service, so it's like Airbnb, you're renting exclusive rights to that listing for that time period. That's how it works with my photography thing. You're buying exclusive rights by the hour to be the only people there for this experience. But yeah, we're starting to see some fun farm and ranch experiences. Like fishing was always one that we put in that bucket because it's in the summertime. But the advantage to those is it's a way to keep that cash flow going outside of hunting seasons. And then especially if you're in states where it's hard for out of state hunters, or it's a tag and lottery draw system, these are ways to tell your farm story too, to bring people there, to make your connections. They can all really complement the other enterprises on your farm.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's such a powerful opportunity. I think that people aren't, yeah, I mean, obviously people are buying into it, or are waking up to it. Do you think that I don't think we'll ever get to the point where like a ranch in Florida is the destination. Like they're going to do Disney, they're going to do Universal, but one day might be the ranch,
It
one day
could be.
the people going like, hey, we did Disney Tuesday, we do Universal Wednesday, we're going to go to the ranch on Thursday and just check it out. I wonder if that could become a reality, I guess.
I mean, if I'm a dad, which, hey, I'm a dad as of 3 weeks ago. So
hey, congratulations.
If I got to go to Disney, I'm going to go Disney, Universal, and then I'm going to hunt an Osceola turkey because we have good Osceola listings down there, right? So yeah, I don't know. Well, you say that. Some of our species that we have now, we have a black-tailed deer listing. Some of those species are bucket list species for people to hunt. So to have the chance to go hunt these on their own, I'm not saying they didn't have the chance before. It was just a lot harder to facilitate that transaction before. So I think some of the hunting stuff can certainly be a destination type trips. We have this discussion a lot. A lot of the farm and ranch experience stuff might just be more local. But like you said, it's figure out what makes your place special to your local, community, or, within a day's drive. During COVID, we knew that I wasn't at the company yet, but I heard about people were just looking for wide open spaces to go tromp around in with their kids because they were kind of going stir crazy. I know locally all of our state parks shut down. Me and my wife were hiking a lot, and then those weren't open. So we were just going private land, game land, stomping around to get outside. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see where it goes, but it's definitely caught on traction. I look forward to the day that before anybody goes, the same way when you're going to take your kids to Disney World now, you might look at an Airbnb versus a hotel versus staying on resort. I look forward to the day that before you go hunt or take your family fishing, you're checking the Land Trust platform to see what's close and what local farmer and rancher you can go be part of their farm and ranch for the day.
Yeah, we're a family of 6, 4 kids, and so we always stay in Airbnbs because I don't want to have to smuggle kids in and out of,
Yeah,
in duffel bags into hotel rooms, because you're not supposed to have more than 4 or whatever generally, and so, or you have to pay for an extra room, and by that point, if you cook one meal in your Airbnb on a 4-day stay, you probably paid for the difference in price over renting a hotel room, right? So anyways, But I haven't noticed in all of our Airbnb bookings that people are taking out advertisements like a Google ad for when people are looking in those areas, because probably the platform is the destination. Like I don't Google vacation rentals in Orlando. I go to Airbnb and then I type in Orlando and my dates. So maybe that's not necessary to take out an advertisement for my listing on Land Trust to let people know. Is my line of thinking making any sense here?
It is. And in fact, we are now seeing, which is really neat. So there's a lot more people in this company that are way smarter than me as far as how search engines work and AI works and websites work and the background engineering works. But we are now seeing when people will Google something like elk hunting in Montana unit 411, Land Trust pops up. And that's not because that listing is doing anything special on their end. It's because what we're doing on our end is a lot of search engine optimization and, those type of backside tactics to be recognized. We still hope landtrust.com is the destination and we try to get people to go there. But now what we're seeing is those unique experiences that people might Google. We want ourselves and the corresponding listings to be what pops up 1, 2, and 3 on Google. So it's pushed right in front of them.
Right. Yeah. And earned placements, not placements you paid for. Those are the,
Exactly. Yep.
Like this is just me. When I'm searching for something and I come across the business that I want to buy from, I'll scroll past their sponsored listings on Google and click on the one that's not sponsored, because I was already going to buy from you. Why am I going to make you pay more money to sell to me?
Yeah, I'm the same way, actually. I generally ignore the sponsored ones because I think my mind immediately goes to that might not be the best fit for my results. It might just be that my metadata fit the search criteria.
Very good, Taylor. Is there something else that you had on your mind that you were thinking that this is what I really wanted to cover here today?
Yeah, I think you put this in my mind, and then I've been trying to deploy it locally to find, for my personal business, scale is always going to be the constraining factor. So trying to find the row croppers to work with to use my cattle to solve solutions. It's funny because I've traveled around doing other podcasts and we keep talking about this. Now I'm seeing a lot of really people a lot smarter than me starting to talk about it, right? And I think it's awesome because it then just becomes a network of people thinking along the same lines. I think the barrier to entry, and I think this is whether it's land trust or whether it's let me put it in my own shoes. Let's say that I want to share my pastures with somebody that has a sheep operation, right? I know that within agriculture, we seem to really identify with what we raise, right? I'm a cowman, or I'm a sheep guy, or I'm a row cropper, or I'm a orchardist, or, whatever it is. And I think sometimes it's hard for us to step outside of those lines. And that's where we get bound up when we're like exploring new opportunities like that. So I've seen that even in land trust, where this might be an awesome agriculture operation, and just because of markets or weather or whatever, they would like some more supplemental income. But it's hard to say, oh, we're a cattle operation, but we do agritourism too, because it might, in our minds, seem like we're not doing what we set out to do, or might hurt our identity. I'm the first one to be like, I wish, I wish I could just have a huge cow-calf herd and make it profitable, and maybe, but it's not. I'm a realist, and it may not be the best thing for my business. So I see that a lot, and I see that's what I face when I'm out trying to dig up new sharing opportunities. But I do think with diligence, it'll happen, and I think everything's a people problem. And if I try to work on the people skills to get through, and that works different for different people. Some people just like to see I did a white page on grazing wheat around here because it's done all the time in Kansas and Oklahoma and Texas. And we grow a lot of wheat around here. I'm like, why wouldn't it work, right? And I sat down with a local farmer, and he was nice enough to share some numbers with me so I could do this white page. And that one particular white page, the relationship didn't work out for nobody's fault, but it's been brought up a couple more times. So like it must be in the back of people's minds now. And I just think since we are changing paradigms, really, is what we're doing, until all the rest of the landowners are on board. We just have to keep looking for those opportunities and working with people, working with them to help them understand where opportunities may lie, and understand that there's some people that are not open to new opportunities and just move on.
Yes. Yeah, that's good advice. It's similar to some that Jesus gave. So it's always good to take his advice, right?
Yeah.
Take the dust off your feet.
Yeah. And the sheep thing's real. I know that I need sheep on these acres, and I know there's revenue to be had. And I almost got myself in a situation. I decided, hey, my wife's pregnant right now. I probably shouldn't bring on another enterprise I know nothing about. But I'm the first one to say, if somebody came to me and was like, I want to graze X amount of sheep alongside your cows or on your acres, I would be all for that. I just think that would be cool to, it would have to work numbers wise for both of us, me get some land rent or figure it out. But I don't see the reason that I have to be the only one to farm the acres that I technically control. I know I've heard it a million times in your podcast. It's not ours. It's just our turn. Like even while I'm controlling these acres, I don't see any reason that there can't be land trust listing, bees somewhere. Somebody else has a market garden on an acre, which is a big market garden, and somebody runs sheep. I think all that could happen with no more overheads than we have. Multiple people could make multiple layers of revenue off the same acres, and it could probably improve soil health along the way.
Very good. Well, I'll be interested to see how that progresses. I appreciate your time today, though.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Very good stuff there with Taylor. Really appreciate him sharing his experiences with land trust and just how it's helped him to get started in the ranching operation and the farming operation, as they say in the East, and very much helpful perspective from somebody who's just getting started out there full time. So looking forward to the next episode of the Working Cows podcast. We'll be talking to Jeremy Sweeten and John Hayes about the profitability of adaptive multi-paddock grazing in northern contexts. So look forward to sharing that with you, coming your way real soon on another episode of the Working Cows podcast. We'll see you then.
We invite you to visit workingcows.net to subscribe to the show via iTunes or Stitcher. You'll also find detailed show notes pages, resources from our guests, and the industry leaders who have influenced them. For more ideas on putting your cows to work for you in a more profitable way, tune in next week.